sometimes the progress that we want to make is not the progress that we end up making, and you can feel very lost and you can feel like you're going nowhere. Hey Sarah, I wanted to talk today a little bit about the ideas of feeling lost and feeling a little bit like you're kind of failing. Lately, I've been feeling those ways. I felt very lost for a very long time. I feel like every time I start figuring out my life and what I want to do with my life, I end up, for one reason or another, like totally falling apart and giving up on myself, and sometimes even giving up on the people around me, but mostly giving up on myself. And it kind of ends up leading to this cycle of never actually getting done the things that I want to get done, and just always feeling like I'm lost and like I have nowhere to go. Like even though I have goals and plans, that I'm never going to be able to achieve them because every time I've tried, I end up not succeeding, even when I try really, really hard. And it a lot of the times can have a big impact on my self-image. It can make you feel like you don't really know yourself, and like you're not really who you are. And this last year, I've been trying so hard to get back to who I once was, which I've learned, unfortunately, that you kind of can't really be somebody that you once were. You have to just create sort of a new version of yourself with little bits and pieces of either the people around you or the different versions of yourself that you once were. I try really hard in life, and a lot of the times it feels like I'm just pushing and pushing and pushing, and it feels like nothing's pushing back, and like I keep just landing flat on my face. And I never really know what to do about it. And so a lot of the times I don't really do anything about it, and I isolate and I hide and I stop talking to people and I stop asking for advice and I stop asking for help, and I get worried because I feel like, being the age that I am, seeing the people around me having their lives put together, it can feel like my life's not put together enough, and it can feel sometimes even a little embarrassing to ask somebody how to do something that you should know how to do. And I've been trying lately to avoid that feeling. Not avoid that feeling. I've been trying lately to push through that feeling and to ask people for help anyways. Whether it be looking over a resume or helping giving advice on what steps to take next. Something for me that also doesn't help is that I never really intended on being 20. I never really intended on making it to 19, and now I am almost 22, and I have an entire future in front of me that I was not planning on being around for, so it can get really overwhelming and feel like I'm behind everybody, because I'm not where my peers are, and I'm not where my peers are because I wasn't planning on being where my peers are. I've changed what I want to do with my life about 1.5 million times because originally I was just doing things to appease the people around me when I was in high school, just so that they thought that I had a future when I thought that I didn't. And after that, I was just kind of trying to survive every day that I could. And now that I've gone through so much and I'm out of a lot of situations that I once was in, I'm realizing that there's so much that I could do and that I can logistically do and have whatever career it is that I wanted. I was trying to go for art when I was in high school, and then I went to college and I went for business so that I could market the art better, and then I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I had a really long talk with my sister, and I realized that since I was really young, wanted to work with animals, and it's hard to get a job when you don't have experience. I mean, I have my own animals, but like places don't care about that. They want like hands-on, like professional experience, which I don't have. And had I let myself work with dogs when I was younger, like I wanted to, had I voiced that earlier, I maybe could have gone to school for that. I maybe might have not, but I wouldn't know as much as I do about art. I wouldn't know as much as I do about business. So in hindsight, you know, it's okay. And I'll get there eventually. Just it's taking a lot more time than it would have for somebody else who had already had their plan in mind. So I feel lost because I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, and I feel like I've already failed because I'm so far behind, because I didn't go down necessarily the path that I should have. I could have made this easier for myself had I just known earlier, but there was no way of knowing earlier. And so I feel really behind, and I feel really lost because I don't know really where to go. Because I can't really afford to go back to school. And for whatever reason, you can't get like a starting position pretty much anywhere without experience, whether that be in school or professionally. But you can't get professional experience unless you have school experience, and it's just a lot. But something that has helped me to ground myself is spending time with myself. This little nook area is probably like my sanctuary when it comes to that. It's the place that I go to when I really need to connect with myself. It's the place that I go to when I need to ground myself and when I need to be by myself. And to me, it's a safe space to be able to do that. A lot of the times, usually I have journals like all over here. I have a lot of journals, and I'll put on some music and maybe a candle and maybe some tea, and I'll sit here. Usually I have my feet like up on my record player, and I'll have my dog with me like laying down, and I'll just sit and I'll just think. And a lot of the times I'll write out what I'm thinking, and that helps a lot. What got me to the point to be able to do that was last Christmas, my dad got me a journal, and he didn't know how important that journal was for me, but I had always tried to journal, but I never had something physically to journal with. But now I do, and I would always try to write, you know, on a computer, but it's not the same as sitting with yourself and physically handwriting it, having those little intimate moments. And something that helped me a lot was having that space to do that. It's taken a long time for me to be able to consistently write and consistently have all of these different journals for all these different thoughts. For me, it's easier to have like a specific notebook or journal for one thing or another. Like I have one for quotes, I have one just for how I'm feeling, like a diary almost. I started another one very recently. It's been a whole year of working through all of this, and I'm only just now getting to the point where, you know, I'm consistently writing with it and I'm being honest with it. For a long time I would write, but I would write about things that I felt like other people wanted to hear, even though it was for myself. Or I'd write about things that I was comfortable sharing because I was hiding from myself and I didn't want other people to know, and I didn't want to admit to myself things that were going on. But now I'm more honest with myself, which helps a lot. And it's helped me to kind of, even when I feel lost, even when I feel like I've let myself down, I can you can go back and you can reread things and you can start to see all the progress that you made recently I started to feel like I was going nowhere, like I was doing nothing, like I had gotten nothing done this year, like I had gotten nothing to be better. And I started reading back from the beginning, and I started reading all the things that I had wanted to do, and I started reading all the insecurities that I had and all the things that I wanted to fix about myself. And I've realized that I've come a long way since then. And that maybe if I can come a long way since then, even if it's taken a long time, that with more effort and more time and more understanding of myself, that I can start to make progress in other areas as well. Something that I've done more recently, is I got a third notebook to write down like planning, like a planner kind of for the month or for the year or for my life. There's different sections of different goals that I have, different aspirations, and something that I try to do with that is I try to not just write what the goals are, I try to write out each step of what that goal is, and how to really achieve it. So one of the things, like that's a goal for me for 2026, is I want to do more art. And one way that I'm planning on doing that is in my AP class, my AP art class in high school, we had to do this thesis where you made 15 pieces based around the same topic. I'm doing a modified version of that for myself. I'm going to, between January and June, trying to do a 10-piece kind of collective of different art styles and different mediums, but all with the same general idea. You know, when it comes to things like applying to jobs, it's finding the jobs, it's resumes, it's interviews, it's all these tiny little minute things. More interpersonal things like having better relations with my family, looks like starting to just have conversations with them in general, and over time, as I feel more comfortable having more honest conversations and being more vocal about the things that I need or the things that I'm struggling with. So getting to kind of write that all out and write out how it's gonna happen and all the tiny little steps helps a lot, because you get to cross off each little step as you go along. And at the end of it, when you feel like you've made no progress and you feel like giving up because you've done nothing, and that you're going nowhere, you can kind of start to look back at things like that, and you can start to recognize that you are going somewhere, and you did make it somewhere. And you know, sometimes the somewheres that we end up aren't exactly the places that we want to be. Sometimes you want at the end of the year to be healed. You want at the end of the year to be consistent with journaling, to take care of yourself, to take baths, to see friends all the time, to have a job. And sometimes instead of doing that, what you end up doing instead is finding yourself at the last moment. Instead, you take better care of your chinchilla and your dog. Sometimes the progress that we make isn't necessarily the progress that we want to make. Sometimes the progress, hello little girl. Sometimes the progress that we want to make is not the progress that we end up making. And you can feel very lost, and you can feel like you're going nowhere, and you can feel like you've put in so much effort to things, and it can make you feel like you're failing. But having something, whether it's digital, whether it's a physical portfolio of artwork or music or whatever, or hobbies or whatever, or having like a journal to write in things that you want to get done versus the things that you did get done, or things that you didn't get done versus things that you did, you can start to see that there's a lot more progress being made than you think that there is. Yeah. Sometimes the progress that we want to make is not the progress that we do make. Sometimes the progress that we want to make is a little too complex for us and not something that we can really get through in the time that we set for ourselves, but we should still set those goals for ourselves. But having something to look back at, realizing all the tiny little goals, all the small steps that we made, all the patterns that we've started, the habits that we've started that are seemingly unrelated, we can realize that although we didn't make progress in the places that we wanted to make, we did make progress somewhere. And that's what I've been dealing with, and that's the way that I have found to be the most helpful in trying to see a silver lining and trying to take better care of myself and be kinder to myself, and to realize that, you know, I might have failed at everything that I wanted to do this year. I might have let myself down a lot with most of the big goals that I wanted to do. But when it comes to small goals, like even recording this video, that's a big step. You know, I did things that I never thought that I could do that I've wanted to do for years, like make paper, and stuff like that. And it's okay. It's okay to make progress in different areas, and it's okay if maybe we're falling a little behind in other areas. Maybe it's just not our time. And realizing that has brought me a lot of peace of mind and helped me to accept myself better and understand myself better and to be a lot kinder and to realize that I am growing. I'm not growing in the way that I wanted to, but I'm growing in the way that I need to. I hope that maybe you found something in this to help you feel a little less lost and a little less like you're failing. I still struggle with that all day, every day, but it gets a little easier when you can meet yourself where you're at and start to see that the small things matter. I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye, Sarah.